Today, let's talk about letting go of a traumatic past or all our traumas of the past. Now, all of us, you, me, and the majority of the world, we have either experienced traumatic experiences or we have caused traumatic experiences towards others. Sometimes we've done it consciously, sometimes we've done it unconsciously. But either which way, we have experienced trauma. Either we were the recipient of it or we were the originator of it. So today, let's talk about how I dealt with my traumas of the past and how I moved ahead in life, this wonderful journey called life, with all my traumatic experiences buried into the past. Welcome back to the musings of an old Maverick. Welcome back to the archives of my life. How did I let go of all my traumatic experiences? You know, one of the reasons why people are unable to walk away from their traumas or walk away from, most importantly, their past, because they haven't been able to appreciate the present. Ask yourself, is your present, or have you appreciated your present to the extent that you can actually wipe the past away? That is really one of the biggest problems of people who have not been able to walk away from the past. So what I did was, I began to appreciate my present. I began to appreciate what I had eventually evolved into. I had begun to appreciate the things, the positive things, the good things that I'd done in the past and still doing. And when you start appreciating that, your present becomes a great place to be in. Yes, we all make mistakes. So we either are the recipient of trauma or we are the originator of trauma. Either which way, it's not important anymore because you need to look into your present and begin to appreciate it. That's one step I took, but that's not the only one. There's several of them. That's the first one. The second one was I began to let go of all my traumatic experiences by actually leaning into it. Now, that's something that you may be able to do or may not be able to do, but give it a try. Because I've always been a fighter. So in any traumatic experience, you either fight or you flee. It's a very animal instinct. When we stand up to fight it, the only way you can fight it is by leaning into it. Accepting it, that yes, it happened. Either it happened to me or I caused it to someone else. You may be now in regret, and that's a good thing. You might regret having been traumatized, and you might regret traumatizing. And that's a very good thing because you are leaning into it. And the journey towards healing out of trauma is by leaning into it. That's my experience. And that's exactly how I managed to move away from all my traumatic experiences. Thirdly, I started avoiding all motivational and inspirational videos or books or stories. My trauma was mine. The very fact that I was wanting to bury it, to kill it, to move away from it, was motivation and inspiration itself. That's the way I looked at it. When you want to take on a positive angle or a dimension to what has been so terribly negative in the past. That is your greatest inspiration. That's your greatest motivation. So when I would read books on motivation and on inspiration and how people were, trying to be motivated to get away from the trauma, it was not really helping me. Because I already had a huge dose of inspiration within me to start moving away from everything that had happened in the past and to create an amazing present so that the future would be ecstatic. So that's the third thing that I did. The fourth thing, very, very important. When we go through traumatic experiences, we have a tendency of being the hero of it all. Oh man, it happened to me. Well, I was the one who handled it. Oh, I went through this and I went through that. And this is how I handled it. And this is how you handled nothing. You are just becoming the hero or oblique the victim. And you're justifying it by turning that victim into a hero. So don't become the hero of your story. That's very important. Bury the story. It's not important. It's not worth your time. Another very important fact is, we all make mistakes. Everybody. We're human. It is human to err. And that's all right. Sometimes our mistakes could be very, very traumatic to others. Sometimes our mistakes could be very, very unsettling, deeply unsettling to some people. Sometimes also our mistakes may not be as bad as they seem to. But what is important to understand is we are human, and as humans, we will make a million mistakes. And that's all right. The important thing is we need to learn to forgive ourselves for the mistakes we make. I'll tell you something. This is what I did. Nobody, quite honestly, let's face it, nobody really forgives you for the things that you do wrong. They might say, okay, forgive me. Maybe 80%, maybe 90%. But there is always that iota of grudge. Why? Because they were the victim of it. They were the people who suffered because of our mistakes. Or your mistakes. My mistakes. So no one will ever 100% forgive you. But if you need to move on, you have to sit down, face the fact that yes, I was the person who caused it. I regret it now. And you must then learn to forgive yourself 100%. Now this may sound very alien to you, but you're the only one who can ever forgive yourself, heal, and move forward doing amazing, inspirational, and awe-inspiring, empowering things for people. So, forgive yourself. And the last thing that I did, one of the last things that I did, was I began to surround myself amongst people who made me feel that I was really worth it. Because the biggest problem with a traumatic past is that somewhere down in your subconscious, it's very difficult to wipe that victim away. You know why? Because we don't forgive ourselves. We don't lean into it. We don't face it, taking it as it's human to do what we did. We don't accept all that. For somewhere, just like everybody else, there's a regret that remains buried inside us. So it's easier said than done. Okay, forgive yourself. Wipe it all out. But what about that deep regret within you? And the only way you can override that is by being surrounded by people who have had similar pasts and who are now getting on with it. And when you see them getting on with it, because there is still a life ahead. So when I used to be with these people, I realized, if they can get along with it, why the hell can't I get along with it? So what am I sitting down and regretting every minute of my existence, thinking, oh my gosh, I had done this, oh my gosh, I had done that. What's the point? Life has to go on. And as you evolve, looking back in the past and learning from all those things that happened in the past, all experiences, all the incidents that happened in the past, when you start learning from it, you begin to step forward to a far more intellectual plane. You start stepping into an existence which is far beyond what you have lived as or existed in the past. You will actually now become what I call more learned and therefore a bigger giver. Because ultimately, that's where you must head. Thank you for being back with me at the Musings of a Maverick. I hope what I told you works for you. If it doesn't, give it a thought. Work things out. Move away from traumatic pasts. Life is just too short to live the past. You need to celebrate life. Celebrate being you.